everyone. This is State Representative Kate Lipper-Garabedian. Thank you for joining me for a Conversations with Kate podcast. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Steve Maio, our town administrator up in Wakefield, just north of Melrose, where we're recording, to the studio. Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me here, Kate.
So it's been a pleasure to get to work with you over the 2.5 years that I've been in this role. I've learned a lot about town government, about Wakefield through our collaboration and our ongoing communication. And I'm thrilled to get to share a little bit more about you personally and also the work of Wakefield over the course of this podcast.
Oh, great. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. It's been a great collaboration, and you came in a tough time. Really, right when we were in the throes of the pandemic or just getting into
That's
it.
Right.
So it was learning on the fly, I guess.
Yes. Well, we all were. No one had an experience like that.
No playbook.
No, that's right. Well, thanks to you and, others in the administration and at town council, Wakefield is doing well, and I'm pleased to get to hear a little bit more about that today. But let's start with you. Can you share a little bit about your professional history and how you came into this role of town administrator?
Sure. So let's go back to 1998, I think. In 1998, Wakefield passed the town charter. And when that came in, that increased the number of members of the then Board of Selectmen, now Town Council, from 5 to 7. So I ran for Town Council in 1998 and was fortunate enough to be elected by the people of Wakefield. Before then, I had been on school councils. I had been on the Board of Appeals. I grew up in town, a graduate of Wakefield High. My wife is a graduate of Wakefield High. Our kids were all in the school system and all graduated from the school system. So I guess I was known around town. And little known fact is that my dad was superintendent of schools for many years. So,
Oh, wow.
So the Maio family was kind of well known in town.
Sure.
So I was on the town council for 9 years, or almost 9 years. And during that time, became fascinated and very interested in how town council ran, on how the town ran. I, had my own law practice. I had a banking background. I had graduated from Georgetown with a degree in economics, so I kind of knew the business side.
And good basketball.
Yeah. I'm wasn't quite a good enough for that, but I did know those guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, so and the town administrator at the time, actually, he was called an executive secretary beforehand, and he, named Tom Butler, who tragically passed away shortly after he retired, really involved me in a lot of the issues in the town, including contracts with the unions. He would say,
Sure.
Steve, can you come in and sit with me on this and just kind of hear about it? So I kind of loved it. I loved politics. So it was kind of a compilation of everything that I really loved and enjoyed doing. So when Tom announced his retirement, I resigned from the board and put my name into the ring and was fortunate enough to be appointed in 2008.
Okay.
So it's been almost 15 years
Wow.
now, and it's been a real great run. And during that time, I've gone from being the rookie in our surrounding communities of mayors or town administrators or town managers to kind of the old grizzled veteran. So it's been an interesting ride.
Yes. Well, that's really great. I admittedly didn't know that about your background. So really interesting. And when you say you were appointed, that was you serve at the behest of the town council?
At the pleasure of the town council. Yeah.
Got it. So let's talk just briefly for folks who live in a city or even people who are new to town life, a little bit about Wakefield's form of town government.
So Wakefield is an open town meeting, number one.
Which means
that every and any registered voter can attend town meeting. That is really our legislative body. And that's where they pass the budget. That's where they pass the any bylaws, any zoning changes, capital expenditures, and things like that. All goes to an open town meeting, which is challenging because we have to set our budget kind of ahead of the curve because we have to post and go to town meeting, and then there is an ability to ask for special election on anything that happens at town meeting. So unlike cities where it really goes to a city council and a mayor, and they can pass their budget on June 29th
right.
if they wish, we've got to do ours much earlier. And actually, our town charter specifies that it's got to be within. Really it's the first week of May, last week of April that we have our town meeting. So people may ask, how can I get something at town meeting? as an individual member of the community. And if you get 10 citizens to sign on a petition, you can present something to town meeting on a warrant that's already been opened. So, citizens will come in and they'll want to maybe change the hours that construction can be done in town. Citizen petition that can go towards town meeting. So it is, you never know what's going to happen. My staff, to the town council, myself, we make presentations, and then anything goes.
Right.
There can be a question from anybody in the audience, and even if they're not a registered voter in Wakefield, although they cannot vote, they can, with the permission of the body, ask a question or make a presentation. So it is a rather interesting process to go through. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot from it. Yeah.
And meanwhile, so you have town meeting, and that's obviously a way for Wakefield residents to get really involved in the governance of the town, including to maybe bring new items to an agenda, or then to react. Because like with the budget, I think the town council, you present a proposal, the town council reviews and vets it, and then that's presented at the open meeting.
Right. The town council vets almost every line item, really every line item of every budget, and then it goes to a finance committee that then really gets into the weeds in it, and then it is recommended by the finance committee, hopefully, and then presented at town meeting, and then it's open again for any questions. So that is a way. And in fact, a couple of bylaws that have been completely citizen petitions at town meeting have been energy efficiency, becoming a green community. That was really a groundswell from members of the town council, but really members of the community. Another one would be, banning plastic, bags and straws and things like that. Again, the community brought that forward. So it does give the average citizen, the ability to get together and like-minded people and put something in front of the town for voting.
Sure. That's great. Can you talk a little bit? So we've talked, there's the town meeting, and then there's also the town council, and then your role. What kind of authority and autonomy do you have on a day-to-day? Because this is your full-time position, whereas town councilors, that's part-time. They have other things they're working on, obviously.
Correct. And they're not paid in Wakefield. That's an important distinction. Town council is not paid in Wakefield, so they're really doing this as a real labor of love, and it's thank God that people do step up and run for it because it's important. My job is to run the day-to-day operations of the town. And that includes hiring and firing personnel. For the most part, there are a few personnel positions that the town council either has to approve on their own or has to vote on my recommendation. But for the most part, the day-to-day management is done by myself. Policy is done by the town council. And so really, I guess we have the charter provides for a very strong town manager / town administrator position. Some communities have a different charter where, everything needs to be approved by the town council. This is a little bit different, but you don't survive in this job for 15 years without really vetting these things through the town council and making sure that, we're all on the same page.
That makes sense. Yeah. And it does also, it's a testament to the charter that there is the appropriate maybe balance there.
Yes.
Because if everything has to always be approved, that can really slow things down.
Exactly. And actually, things that we do need to approve, unlike a city, I'm often jealous of people like Mayor Broder that gets, he gets to move things a little bit quicker.
Sure.
We have to set an open meeting, discuss it. So,
sure.
But that's okay.
Sure. So you mentioned that your predecessor, the title was executive secretary.
Right.
So that's one way, I guess, the role has somewhat evolved.
Yeah.
Other ways over the last 15 years that you've seen it evolve?
Oh, I think absolutely. Technology is huge now. There is fewer people really, and this is even in 2008, fewer people were involved in emailing and what have you. Now we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have all these things, plus, old-fashioned email, I guess, as my kids would say. And so that the accessibility is huge. Yep. I think people have a greater thirst for information than they did even 10, 15 years ago. And it seems like something's happening in Braycott, for instance. We have an issue going on there with the fires. It's terrible, 80 acres burning. And people have a thirst for information. I can't even get it quick enough to give it to them.
Sure.
So that's number one. I would say that's really changed things. I think the public has become not only more engaged, but more exacting in what they really want to see out of their community. And I think that's a great thing. But on the other side, what I have seen is there's a lot more polarization, and there are more avenues to put that out. And it's too bad, because I always said, there's no, politically correct way to fill a pothole. Let's do it. Let's make the roads do well, and let's provide these services. And unfortunately, that kind of bubbles over. You see it nationally. You see it a little bit more in the state, and now you're starting to see that in the in the municipality. So that's another change that's happened. But I think by and large, the people of Wakefield have been really good. They they have a great ethos together. So I think that's, I'm not saying we're bucking the trend, but it's not as bad as I hear from some of my compadres in communities all over the state.
Got it. Well, let's turn to a little bit about Wakefield, and what are some of the bigger issues that you addressed as a town over the last year. We'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Okay, so the last fiscal year 2022, and going into 2023, we were coming out of, a kind of a real strange, weird year with, the pandemic. None of us knew there was no playbook. None of us knew what that meant, how we were going to go forward, what was going to be best practices going forward. And I would say that, we did, as every community did, the best we could with no real playbook, and things changing, sometimes daily or hourly, coming down from, the state and the federal government. But we learned a lot. We changed our systems. We became much more technologically proficient. The way that we worked with the public in presenting information and meetings, we will never return to having a meeting in a boardroom somewhere that's not accessible to the public in a very easy way. So we adopted Zoom very, very quickly in Wakefield, and I think we canceled maybe 2 weeks worth of meetings and then went right to a new platform. And what that allowed us to do was have every meeting is accessible to the public if they want to go from their own kitchen, right? They can either dial in on their phone, or they can log in and watch it on their computer. And every meeting is recorded of whether it's a subcommittee of the school committee to the full school committee. Those are recorded, and they are, out there for the public to tune in and see.
Yes.
And I think we've taken great pride in that, and didn't miss a beat. So economy kept going, Board of Appeals kept meeting, construction continued, and that's going to stay. And it's been a interesting ride on this, because we will change all of our meeting rooms to be hybrid for the future, meaning that people can come in person, because some people still like to come in person, and there are others that want to view it at home or wherever. So, we'll be retrofitting all of our rooms to make sure that we can accommodate both sides. And I think that's where the state is going, and I think that's where, frankly, the country is going to go with these meetings. It's a lot more transparency. People can see everything that's going on. So we've learned that.
I would say that's a silver lining on the pandemic.
It is.
We figured out a way to do things a little bit differently to accommodate preferences or challenges for people being able to come in person.
Exactly. And now we can also kind of do it the other way too. There are still some people that like to be in the meeting, like to read the room, prefer it. I know the board members, for the most part, I know the town council likes being together. I think they missed the camaraderie. There are other commissions or committees or boards that we have in town, and they say to me, Steve, we never want to come in again. It works out really easy for that. And I think it's easier to get volunteers on these committees too, because you don't have to rush home from work to make it to a meeting. You can actually maybe go home, maybe actually have a bowl of soup or something before you run out.
Yep.
And you can then do it from your kitchen and what have you.
Probably opens it up to more people who have young kids, or a potential a physical disability, any number of things.
It makes it much easier for them.
Right.
Although the other end is there's no excuse to miss a meeting anymore.
Well, that's fair.
I always say, well, you're on vacation, but you can still Zoom in if you want. So, and I know I've done that myself, so it makes it better.
Sure.
I think the other thing we really learned from the pandemic and had us listen to people and what do people want, and I think we really heard that people really wanted more walkability, more mobility, that isn't by car, more events and apparatus that they can use. So I think that's really changed how we're viewing our expenditures going forward as a community, looking at better streetscapes, more walkability, more bikeability, bump outs that maybe can be used very easily on the street for an impromptu, saxophone player to enjoy. Putting more athletic equipment that's outside. We just we're putting in a fit court, which is an outdoor way to work on your core, and in one of our neighborhood playgrounds. So I think
that's great.
That's been stuff that's really, we really were sensitized to it, and people really and really enjoy it and like it, and that's kind of colored our budgetary decisions kind of going forward. The other end of the pandemic is that we did realize through this is that there is a great need for mental health services in Wakefield and in Melrose and all around.
Yes.
And if you looked at our budgets over the last couple of years, we really are adding social
Yes.
workers and clinician hours at the police station, a whole entire revamping of public health, really focusing on mental health. Not that we're going to resolve every issue that unfortunately people have, but that we can put them in touch with the right resources, and that's really what we're looking at right now. How can this family get help for their from their grandparents down to their children that are having issues getting back into the world, and probably had them before, they were just exacerbated. So I'm really proud of what we've done and continue to do in that area. Not everybody agrees, which is the beauty of town meeting and going through these things. But I think it is really the direction that we're going, and we have gone, and the town has been great about supporting them.
That's
so
great.
It's wonderful.
When I took on this role, I was really struck, for example, by the police department's approach to mental health supports and, community policing. Had one of the social workers on one of my community conversations around mental health and well-being. And in fact, after this recording, I'm going to have two social workers from City of Melrose come talk a little bit about it, because similarly, Melrose has really started to invest in this as a resource and a connection for people as well.
We brought that in around 2009, 2010. I forget the year that it was.
I think that was on the leading
leader
in that space.
We found that we definitely could not arrest our way out of this social issue.
Right.
And so we started what's called CIT program, counsel and training, and I was impressed with how the police department, more than half volunteered, came out on their own time to get trained, to de-escalate situations, and we have ride-alongs with our clinicians. And it was kind of funny because at the end of that process of training, there was rumors out there that from some people that didn't think it was worth it. This is again the beauty of being in an open platform. Oh yeah, Mayo bought all those police officers lobster rolls at the end of this and fed them and spent all this town money. And truth be told, there were no lobster rolls, but in the training we did bring them lunch from one of the local restaurants. So, so thank you for that. So, but it was it was kind of interesting, and now we still get calls from a lot of communities around the Commonwealth asking, how did you do this? What did you do it? And really is I think it's been one of the most fulfilling, if not the most fulfilling service we provide to the community over the years.
That's great. So we're in the middle of another way that people can be involved is, voting.
Right.
And so this is an election year for state and federal positions.
Yes.
And so really thrilled to have supported the Votes Act, which the legislature put to the governor, and it's into law now, that just opens up various ways to safely exercise your democratic right.
Right.
Really grateful to Wakefield, to the town clerk and her office for pulling all this together.
Yes.
By the time this is probably published, the primary season will be behind us, but we will have the general election coming up on November 8th, and there will be multiple ways that people can safely vote. So there will continue to be the vote by mail, where you'll get an application. You can apply for your ballot to receive it home, then you can mail it in, or there's a drop box at Town Hall that you can safely and securely place it in.
Correct.
There will be early in-person voting days, so that's even before November 8th. It will probably be at Town Hall again, do you think?
Definitely a town
Yep.
hall. That works out great.
Yes.
And our town clerk has been great about opening up. And under the law, you do need to open up on weekends. But,
Sure.
Betsy Sharon, who really is one of the, if not the best town clerk in the Commonwealth, she extends those hours. So for the primary, even though this may be broadcast after that,
Sure.
where she's even being open on Saturday of Labor Day weekend to allow people a chance to vote if they wish early.
That's great.
And as far as the early mail-in ballots are concerned, is that I checked with the clerk earlier this week, again, for the primary.
Sure.
And we had sent out over 3,000 early mail-in ballots.
Wow.
And we've told people you can either mail in it or drop them off
Yep.
at the box
Yep.
at a time. So that has really
That's great to
really
hear.
great. So again, getting more people involved and in the process and everything is really important. And I think this has done wonders for extending that. But I will say, Wakefield has a long-standing tradition of never questioning anybody if they are looking for an absentee ballot, which is where we went before.
Sure.
Because people, I'm going to be out. Maybe absentee ballot it's tough to work. I mean, maybe your work day is, I work in Boston. I leave at 7 a.m. before the polls open or when they open.
Right.
I might miss it when I get back. So in some eyes, is that a legitimate excuse not to get an absentee ballot? Probably not under the letter of the law, but we never question that. You're going to be out of the area. So we've always had a long history of that, and I'm very proud of our clerk
As well you
department
should
for
be.
doing that.
Last thing, we've talked a little bit about showing up at open town meeting. We've talked about exercising your right to vote. Other ways that Wakefield residents can get involved in town governance?
So we have very many committees, and they're committees that are adjudicatory from the Board of Appeals. Very many appointed committees, I
Okay.
should say, from the Board of Appeals to the Arts Council, to others, what have you. And they do really important work and really can dig down into a subject and then present ideas and maybe changes to the town council or to the school committee or what have you. What we put in place in Wakefield a few years ago via a bylaw, and it was really pushed through by one of our members of the Board of Selectmen then, town council now, Phyllis Hull, was that every single appointed position on a committee basis is advertised. And even if you are, so the whole general public has a chance to put in a resume, why I'm interested in being on the Conservation Commission, what's my background. We then ask the sitting committee to look at it and maybe give a recommendation. The town council is then given all of the applications that people have, and they may interview them, they may not, but then they're making an informed decision, and hopefully that opens it up to a greater area of the community.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to do. It's all online. You don't even have to leave your home. You can just download everything, and it's interesting. Some committees we get tons of people for. Others we still don't get enough. So hopefully we'll get that out more and more.
That's great.
Because we need new ideas. And even if you have been on a committee for a long time and your term is up, you still need to reapply. And that was something that was very important to town council member Hull, was that we got rejuvenation, we got new people, and wasn't the same people all the time. So that's actually worked out very good. It's a little bit extra work, but it has really created a turnover and got new people involved in government that have a great area of expertise that maybe never would have applied before. Maybe they didn't know anybody, so they weren't going to
Sure.
get appointed. So it really has worked out very great, very
That's
good.
excellent. Yeah. Having all that up online is helpful. I'm sure
Yeah.
people could stop by town hall and learn
Yep.
more
Yep.
about the different ways in which to
Exactly.
sort of
And there's a description of
volunteer
each
time.
committee on the website. There is like when are the meetings, what is kind of expected. So if you want to be on the finance committee, which is a little different appointment process, during budget season you're going to be there every 2 weeks from January to May.
Sure.
That's going to happen. If you want to be on the Conservation Commission, you're probably going to go to a meeting or two a month and then site visits. So it kind of, maybe if you're on the Arts Council, you might be very a lot of meetings during the grant process.
Right.
And then maybe maybe just smatterings here and there. So
Good.
It is very interesting.
Great. Well, Steve, it's been a pleasure to talk to
Thank
you
you.
today, learn a little bit about all the work that you've led on
Yeah.
over these many years, what's
Yeah.
going on in Wakefield. As we're wrapping up the summer, any favorite summer pastime or vacation you took in 2022?
Well, I did get away for a few days to Acadia.
Oh, lovely.
And that was lovely and wonderful. And I thought the best thing about there was two things. Lobster every day, and no cell service. Those are the two greatest things in the world.
I mean, that does sound like a true vacation.
It was absolutely. But my favorite really is, I've got two grandchildren now, and we really enjoy spending time with them and our family. And whether it's going to the beach or flying a kite or miniature golfing or, barbecuing, it's all great. So it's mainly that. My days of running around to football and basketball practice and band practice are over. It's much easier.
Fair enough. Well, you deserve it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Steve
Thank
Maio,
you.
Town Administrator for Wakefield, for
Thank
joining
you.
me.
And thank you for all your support and wonderful work for the town of Wakefield, Kate.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Have a great day.